Welcome to the Uncle's channel. Thanks for watching today, and let's continue our journey to finish every single Game Boy and Game Boy Color game. Today, focus on a game called Warlocked for the Game Boy Color. Now, as far as I know, this is the only real-time strategy game on the system, and I'm here to tell you it is fantastic in like every way. I know we think like the PC games are like, Command & Conquer, Warcraft, StarCraft, all of the PC real-time strategy greats wouldn't transfer over to the Game Boy Color well, but I'm here to tell you one game in particular made that leap with phenomenal results. They nailed the navigating of the world, the construction of different buildings, the training of your different troops, and just like so many variety amongst the buildings and the troops at the same time, and overall just a great atmosphere that is crafted throughout the entire experience. But throughout all of this, like even though it's a well-polished game, a well-thought-out game, and very unique game for the Game Boy Color, most of all, it's just simply a really fun playthrough, pretty much for the entire, I'd say like 7 hours just to get the credits to roll, but for like extra footage, probably like another solid like 7 or 8 hours of post-game footage or post-game of material that you can go through as well. Just a great experience that I've never even encountered something like it for the Game Boy. Now, this particular game did get moved up in the queue a little bit because the mystery driver requested I cover it sooner than later, so naturally moves up in the queue. If there's a game that you want to see me cover sooner than later, let me know the name of the game in the comments down below, and just like Warlocked, I'll move it right on up. But let's go ahead and get into the actual game. Now, I always like to start the videos off by looking at the box art for the game first, and the box art for Warlocked, I have to say, is not my favorite box art. I love the game, but the box art, it summarizes the game, it's just simply not my favorite. Of course, you got the title of the game right there and a wizard in the background, and wizards are going to play a really important part as far as like sort of your special weapon or your secret weapon throughout all of your campaigns. You also have a dragon in the background, and there are dragons you fight against, as well as training dragons. You also have an orc over here at the side, part of Zog's army, of course. You have your main soldier over here, part of Queen Azrael's army, and then you have a chicken and a pig soldier in the middle, and yes, you are able to take your wizard and transform some of the enemy soldiers into different animals, and so it's a reference to what you can do inside the game as far as like a sense of humor at the same time. It's a very serious, in some cases very violent game, but it also has a great sense of humor throughout. But let's go ahead and jump into the review. Now, Warlock starts up here with a really great cutscene. It shows Queen Azrael's castle on the ice plains, and she tells her soldiers to basically ready themselves for war against Chief Zog, who's basically hidden in this dark and twisted castle beyond the Fire Mountains, and a really great imagery for the dark and twisted castle. Very cartoonish, but also very haunting. It also says that the castle is guarded by the dragon's gaze, and a great little scene here of the dragon's eyeball with like fire sort of reflecting off from the eyeball. Really great scenes for the Game Boy Color, and then of course it shows Chief Zog as well. And the intro here really sets up like the rivalry between Queen Azraella and Chief Zog as they're going to be fighting for sort of the lands between here. Not an Elden Ring reference, just simply thinking out loud, but they are going to be fighting for the overall territory. And that's pretty much like how all of these real-time strategy games sort of focus on. You have two opposing teams, they're both fighting over each other's bases, trying to claim all of the land. And just like all those other real-time strategy games, you can choose whichever team you want to play as. You can play as Queen Azrael's army of man, or you can play as Chief Zog's army of goblins or orcs here. And for the most part, I am going to choose Queen Azrael, because it seems to be what the main story is focusing on here. But you can do a full playthrough as Chief Zog and the goblins or orcs at the same time. Now, Warlock does continue off the opening cutscene here and shows some of the main wizards that you can summon. It shows the Storm Wizard, the Wind Wizard, the Ice Wizard, and the Elven Wizard. But these are not the only wizards in the game. I think there's like at least, through my playthrough, I would have come across like 13 or 14. And I know there's at least that many more for the goblin side. So you're looking at probably like maybe 25 to 30 wizards throughout the entire experience. There's a lot of ways to mix the gameplay up here. But overall, a great opening cutscene for Warlocked. And then the title screen does come in here, and it shows basically the title of the game, as well as just simply the pictures of Queen Azrael, Chief Zog, and you have your options here in the middle. Now, I do set my name when I start the game up. I name myself Ogles for obvious reasons, like I do in all my other games. I always name my main character Ogles, and there are several options here on the main menu. Of course, you can play the game, which we'll get to in just a second, because it's the main part of the game. But there's also going to be a part where you can go to the options, and there's a sound test here. And the sound test, I really love what they did here. You can choose any song you want, and there's like a goblin or an orc behind a keyboard, or maybe like an old-fashioned organ, and he's like playing the songs for the sound test. It's just that extra charm to go out of their way to entertain the player, even with something as boring as a sound test. There's also the versus mode where you can link up to another Game Boy and you can battle against someone just like you would in like Warcraft or Command & Conquer. Build your own bases, fight against each other to see who can conquer the entire landscape. You can also go into the armies option and show like which armies you've unlocked so far, are, or like which wizards you've unlocked, things like that. You can also go into extras. Now extras is going to have a lot of stuff like post-game content, but you can see like different hints from the game, as well as like different wizard info, as well as also seeing like different game modes you can unlock, like poker and different ones we'll get to a little bit later in the game. But there's a ton of different options here just simply on the main menu. Now when you click play, like I said earlier, you have to choose between the humans or the orcs. I'm going to choose the humans, and then we go and jump into our first mission here. Now every single mission is going to have like a little mission statement or like your objectives, like a little backstory behind it, and a title for the mission as well. Now the first mission is called Harvest, and you're essentially learning the basic mechanics of the game, and your goal here is to find 100 fuel, 500 gold, and build 3 separate farms to house your different troops here. And so when you jump into the mission, like at first it does seem a little intimidating as far as like what controls do what. However, like all you'd have to do is simply click one of your characters with your little hand above them, click them, and then you have like a little arrow like you would in a computer, and you click anywhere on the map and your character is going to go to that particular area, just like you would in any other real-time strategy game. Now if you hold the A button down, it goes back into having the overall hand where you can select more troops. If you hold the A button down, you can select multiple troops at once and just command them to go wherever you want them to go. And like I said, at first it does seem like a little bit intimidating. However, there's all these scrolls hidden around the environment, and the scrolls, when you walk over them, are going to give you a hint of the basic mechanics of the game, and basically like how to play the game, as far as like how to build things, how to navigate around, how to select your troops, how to mine for gold, how to harvest the trees for your fuel source. And it just really does a great job of a tutorial that's going to be continually expanding throughout like pretty much every mission. Every mission has a different scroll that you can come across that's going to give you just a little bit extra hint or a little bit extra tidbit of how to make the gameplay just a little bit easier. So I set out selecting some of my troops to go to the trees and start chopping down trees for fuel. I set some of my troops going over to the little mine here and start harvesting gold out of the mine for my money source. And I also select some of my workers or my troops just simply to explore the landscape around, because all the map is like pretty much blacked out here with little question marks. And as you march your troop into that area, you gain the ability to see what's going on behind those question marks. And before you know it, you have the entire map pretty much laid out in front of you. And that is just like any other PC real-time strategy game. And I do like that they kept that aspect as well. And so you're going through here, you've gathered all this gold, you've gathered all this fuel from the trees, and then you can select one of your troops, or I mean workers. I'm sort of using the terms interchangeably here, but there are differences between your troops and your workers. Your workers can build and construct things and mine and cut down trees, and your troops are solely for battle. But you select one of your workers here, and then you can go over to a blank plot of land here, and you have like a little square above it. And if you click the B button on that square, you gain options of what you want to build. You can either build a house, a turret, or a tower, or you can build a barracks. Now we're going to get to the other things later on, but our goal here is to build 3 different farms or 3 different houses. So we select that, we build a house or a farm, we select and build another farm and then a third farm. And before we know it, we've got 100 fuel, we've got 500 gold, we got our 3 farms, and mission 1 harvest is complete. And then we get a little still image here of us drinking root beer, not actual beer, drinking root beer, keeping the game family friendly here. And it's just a great start to a game. It's keeping all the aspects of a real-time strategy game. It has a great tutorial here of like how to set your base up. And it's just simply fun actually constructing and building your base and expanding it out. And I don't know, like I just love this style of game to the very highest degree. Now mission 2 is going to be called training. It's going to be focused on how to basically raise your troops up. So your main mission here is to build a barracks and then wipe out the enemy forces in the region. And just like mission number 1, we start off our little base here. You have to select your workers to go basically harvest some wood, mine some gold. You build farms in order to basically house more troops or more workers inside your area. And then you can finally, once you got enough resources, you can construct one of your workers to build a barracks. Now when you build a barracks, you have 2 different soldiers that you can construct. If you press the A button, you can build a just a normal little armored knight here. If you press the B button, you can build a little archer. And the archer, of course, can shoot arrows up more from a distance and also take out anything that is flying above them, like dragons and things like that, which we are going to get to. And of course, I construct my little soldiers here, begin to explore the map out. I find some of the other enemy soldiers, or the beast raiders as they are called. And when you attack them and kill them, they like become like a little pile of bones here. A good little animation to go along with it. And once you've knocked out all the soldiers, you find their temple, you destroy the temple, and you've completed this mission. Now, evidently, according to one of the hints, there was a wizard I could find in this level. I did not find that wizard, so I could go back and retry this level at some point if I wanted to. But they would usually tell you if there's a wizard in the level, but it's always fun to explore every single tile, as I'm going to learn later on, inside the level to find all the different secrets, all different scrolls, all different wizards, everything. I just simply didn't know it at this particular moment. But once you finish this level, you do get a little cutscene here of like little flags flying over the fort because you've conquered their fort or their temple here, and you've completed mission number 2. Now the third mission is going to be called the Tree of Evil, and in this mission you are required as part of like one of your objectives here to actually find the wizard, and this wizard here is going to be called the Crow Wizard, and the Crow Wizard can turn one of your troops into an actual crow, and you can sort of fly across the landscape here and sort of explore out all the little question mark blocks to get a better imagery of where the enemy forces are located at and where their base is located at as well. And so we do rescue that wizard. We do get the crow ability here, and we also go through and we construct 2 barracks here so we can build troops a whole lot faster. And once we've done that, we get our archers ready, we get our soldiers ready, and off we go, and we destroy their towers, their men, their base, and we pretty much just sort of mow through them. And also in the process, we do discover a little blue scroll, and when you get one of those, you unlock a 2-player map. And so if you want to play multiplayer, you pretty much have to go through the single player first in order to get all the different maps that you want to play on. And once again, just like a lot of cool little secrets hidden around the environment that you don't have to find, but it's cool to find them anyway. Now mission number 4 here is going to be called the Snow Forest, and the story is they are building an ice layer behind an old fortress walls, and we are to go and destroy them. And so right off the bat, we do the same thing for pretty much every mission. Send some of your workers to harvest, wood or fuel, some to harvest gold for the mine, and then you begin to go about building your barracks and your farms and all of that. And so I'm not going to go through that for every single one of these levels here, but as you're constructing all of this, begin to explore out a little bit. I do find one of the wizards called the Toxic Wiz, and he can actually like spread poison to different areas or different troops and attack them that way. And I do realize like one key mistake I make sometimes in this game is when you rescue the wizard, you have to take them back to the temple in order to get them like added into your wizard library. And if you don't do that, you just simply get to use the wizard for that one mission, and you won't ever get to use them again. But if you actually add them to the temple here, on future missions, you can select them from the temple, construct them, and use them pretty much all that you want. And so I begin to build my troops up here, and you can't select like more than like maybe 12 troops at a time. So you're basically doing like little miniature raids or little miniature skirmishes here. And so I build up my first little set of army. I go and attack and I destroy the southwest area, take out all their little army forces, their little troops, their little goblins here. And then I take my second army, I go to the northeast area, I destroy that. That's actually where I found the wizard. And I take another army down to the southeastern portion, and also that's where their lair is at. And it takes me 2 armies to take them out. But once again, if your army gets destroyed, you just simply go back to your base, you build more up, and you launch another campaign going for them. At this point in the game, they're not really coming to attack me a whole lot. It's pretty much all offensive here, and we'll get to defensive a little bit later. But one thing I do notice in the game, which is probably, I'm going to say, the only flaw in the game, is that the AI is a little bit off as far as like when you take your characters and you command them to go to a certain area, you expect them to just sort of find their way to that area. And that's not always the case. Sometimes they do, but a lot of times like they'll get lost behind like a tower or like a cliff, or to like wander off in like enemy territory, get killed. And so you sort of have to like take small steps with them, like click, maybe like 4 or 5 little spots above that, a little miniature journey up to there, another little miniature journey, and sort of slowly guide them to where you want them to go. It's not like a huge flaw. It's annoying, but at the same time, like you're playing a strategy game on the Game Boy, and I feel like it's probably like as good as the system could handle at the time. Now the 5th mission here is going to be called Rescue Azrael, and just like the title says, Queen Azrael has been captured, and our goal here is to go into enemy territory and rescue her from the evil dragon that's basically guarding her, holding her hostage. And so this mission is a little bit different than some of the other ones, because all the other ones, you built your troops up, you built everybody up, and you went and just simply destroyed the enemy base. And in this one, you're actually having to develop a strategy to not only take out the troops, but then also how to take out the dragon that is guarding Queen Azrael. Now the dragon itself cannot be taken down with your normal soldiers. You can only take a dragon down with different archers. And so you have to have your archers out there, gather around a little area here, begin to shoot at the dragon. And the dragon has a lot of HP here. It takes a little while to take down, but once you've got the dragon taken down, you can rescue Queen Azrael, take her back to your temple to add her to your wizard list. And her special power, instead of like spreading toxic or anything like that, is when you summon her onto the battlefield, the production of your troops is increased dramatically. So instead of like producing a troop like every 10 seconds, you'll produce a troop like every 7 seconds when you've actually clicked on your barracks to produce that particular one. And so a really vital character to have in your inventory or your arsenal here. And I do like how the game is like mixing the gameplay up a little bit instead of just simply always being a attack other base, destroy other base. You actually have like little missions you're supposed to go on. And speaking of levels like that, when you go into mission number 6, it's called Home Run, and you're taking a group of survivors from an ambush, and you're trying to lead them through enemy territory, through torn up castles, back to your main base in order to build your army back up to start wiping out all the enemy soldiers. And so they're mixing it up yet again as far as like the gameplay goes, but there's also another thing that mixes it up a whole lot more in this level, and it's the idea that you find this little dragon dung on the ground. And when you find it, the hint is there must be a dragon nearby, because anytime you see dragon dung, that means, you know, there's a dragon nearby. And of course you find a dragon's nest, and there's a giant egg in the nest. And if you walk around the nest, it forces the egg to hatch. If you take the little baby dragon and you take it back to your main base here, put it inside your main base, give it like maybe 10 or 15 seconds, the dragon will hatch out, and you have your own dragons you can command and fly around the map here and pretty much take out any building, any soldiers you want from the air. And the only ones who can attack back at you are going to be like the little towers that have little archers on top, or just simply archers on the ground. And I tell you, the dragon is a vital part of this game. There are so many missions here that I take out like pretty much, I'd say, half their army with the dragon alone. So like anytime you see a dragon egg, be extra careful not to have the soldiers destroy the egg or the baby dragon, because you're going to want that dragon on your side. And there's just something like really powerful feeling in these levels, like when you rescue these wizards or you rescue these dragons, to simply continue to up the power of your army, up the attack, and slowly take out their entire base, take out every soldier, and just scavenge every inch of the map here, trying to find everything. And overall, this was a great level. And I almost forgot to mention, the wizard you get in this level is like the wind wizard, and he can like send out a little tornado and destroy the bases pretty darn fast. But sadly, I once again used him in the level, and I forgot to put him in the temple. So I only got to use him for this level, and he was not stored in my wizard database. Now, mission number 7 is called Sleepwalking, and here you are basically trapped inside of a prison, and you're trying to take your 2 workers here, navigate around the corridors, sort of sneak around, find a sleeping wizard or a wizard that knows the sleeping spells, and navigate him out in order to finish the level. And for this level, it actually has a really violent opening. It shows these 2 or 3 little soldiers over here, and they're being brutally murdered, and there's blood all over the walls. Horrible little death here. And they have your other 2 little soldiers here, or your 2 little workers, and you begin to bring them down here, and another little enemy is going to come at you. And when he comes at you, you have to do like little construction on this little trap here, and this little metal gate comes down and basically slices the soldier in half, and a little bloodbath emerges from that. An odd amount of blood for this game. I didn't expect it, because like it's not before this level at all, and it's not really a whole lot after this level, but this level here, definitely more of the bloody levels. So as you journey through here, you do have to, you know, get the soldiers to come into the little traps, kill them off that way, and eventually you get to the sleep wizard. And when you get to him, you can actually put other enemy soldiers to sleep, and so you simply click on the soldier, cast a little sleep spell, they go to sleep, and you can sneak right by him. And once you get the wizard back to his little temple here, you've completed mission number 7. Now the 8th mission here is going to be called the Frozen Sea. It's going to sort of take everything you've learned so far and sort of push it into one level. There's going to be a lot of dragon's nests throughout that you can discover to raise different dragons. You're going to find another wizard here called the Fire Wizard. You're going to summon some of your other wizards to help with like Queen Azrael, to help with the construction of your troops, or the training of your troops rather. And you're basically just sort of building the ultimate army, or the ultimate force to go out and explore and conquer an enemy base. The Frozen Sea is pretty much just focused on destroying every enemy building throughout the landscape. And like I said, I always love these type of missions as well, but it is what I would consider like a normal mission for the game. However, the 9th mission here is going to be called the Spider's Lair, and this is going to give us our first boss in the game, which is a giant spider that you have to fight against and kill here. And you are now in a desert aesthetic, and of course you're having to like harvest palm trees instead of, you know, like your normal trees, such as that. Overall, still the basic concept here, just a different environment as you go through. The wizard that I'm going to rescue is called the Sweat Wiz, and the Sweat Wizard, hard to actually say that for some reason, the Sweat Wizard, he can actually speed up all of your workers where they like run at twice the speed. And so between him and Queen Azrael, like your base is just popping in no time here. And it's pretty easy to clear out the entire map until you get to the Spider Fortress in the upper right hand corner. And for this, I actually tried to do a little bit more of a strategy. I put my little sleep wizard up in the little cliff here, tried to put him to sleep as I'm getting ready to attack. You know, I'm trying to develop more strategy for a actual strategy game. And begin to put my waves of troops going into the spider's little lair here. And they pretty much demolish every single one of my troops, and I was actually getting pretty worried here. I almost had the spider completely killed, like barely any HP, but like I didn't have any troops left. I had no gold left. I couldn't build more. I'd already taken all the gold off the map, and I was almost at a loss. And so my last ditch effort is I actually got the workers here. And I took the workers up into the spider's lair, and the workers did the final, I guess, hit on the spider and killed the spider off. So I didn't even have my soldiers finish this mission for me. The workers were the true heroes for the spider's lair. Now mission number 10 is called the Desert Thieves, and you're basically doing a stealth mission here. And so you're going to have to carve out a little pathway up through the enemy's base because evidently you have no food. They have plenty of food, plenty of fuel and all of this. And so you have to carve up a little pathway here through all the enemy territory, sneak around it, steal their fuel, bring it back down to your base in order to basically build your base up and get it running again. And your goal here is you have to construct so many farms as well in order to consider like finishing the mission. I think it's it's 10 farms in order to consider finishing the mission. And so what I do is I just simply journey off to the left. I happen to find a dragon egg over there by sneaking around. I bring the dragon egg back to my base. I have a dragon. I carve out a little pathway here all the way up to the fuel source. And I basically send my soldiers up there. They gain all the little fuel and whatnot, bring it down to the base, construct these farms, and the mission is accomplished in no time. I'm not sure if this mission was supposed to be more difficult than this because you do get the stealth wizard who you can basically like cast a spell on you to sneak past enemies easier. But I didn't really need any of that. I just simply used my dragon to carve out that path, and it worked fantastic. Now, mission number 11 is called the Dragon's Horde, and we've basically pushed into Chief Zog's territory because we are in a true lava land at this point. Lava's everywhere, you know, different, basically like a hellscape to a degree. And as we go through here, there are dragons everywhere, and part of our mission is to take out all of these dragons. And so even there's a dragon like hovering above our little spot where we mine for ore and whatnot, and you have to like sneak your soldiers in there, basically one at a time, trying to not be, you know, blazed on fire here, and get the gold back out in order to simply build your barracks to begin with. And you basically just have to build horde after horde after horde of archers and begin to take all of these dragons out. It's not really a difficult level. You just simply have to sort of go about it in a little bit different way because you're definitely going to be focusing more on archers. And you also rescue a wizard called the Quake Wiz, and the Quake Wizard can go up to pretty much any building, cause like a little earthquake, and can basically almost make it fall down immediately. But mission number 11 here was really focused on the idea of just simply take out as many dragons as possible because they are pretty much everywhere. Now mission number 12 is called the Mines of Gordo, and you're just simply, once again, in the lava level, setting up your base, trying to destroy the other bases. Not really anything really too special about this one. You are using mushrooms for fuel, which is entertaining in its own right, but there's really nothing too special about this. You do get what's called the Telewiz, or the teleporting wizard. I can say it right in a second. The teleporting wizard. And I never could figure out like how to get this to work effectively. Supposedly you can like select one of your troops and teleport them anywhere you want to on the map. I tried it. I never could get it to work. But overall, a fine little level. Nothing too special about it. And then mission number 13 is going to be the final level in the game called Zog's Fortress. And what a way to end the game. This mission here took me, I think it said 48 minutes to finish, and it's fantastic for every bit of it. You get to really build your base up. There's tons of gold you can harvest. There's tons of fuel that you can harvest to build just army after army after army to explore this enormous map, take out all the enemies, take out their little miniature bases, find dragons as well. And the final little place here is you're finally going to go up to like a little island off the northeastern corner. You have to cross this little bridge here. It's like their last stronghold. They have a dragon there. They have 2 archer towers, a little group of soldiers there, as well as like the main encampment or the main tower of evil. And you can only limit so many soldiers at a time going across the bridge, mix with your archers. And it's a really great final showdown on this little island. It took me multiple waves to finally go through here. And once again, I almost ran out of money, almost ran out of soldiers, but we were finally able to do it with my little group of archers at the close. But just a great finish to an overall great game with like just a level that was really expansive, really gave you just, you know, all reins off, build as much as you want, and a great level. Now at this point it says we have completed the human campaign, we have vanquished evil, saved humanity, and we return to castle or to capital, and we can live in peace. And it shows all of my little men here, all my different soldier types, crossing a little bridge here, journeying down like a little castle courtyard, a nice little final end scene, and then the credits come up here, and there's dragons sort of, you know, going across back and forth, sort of making the new credits appear, and of all variety of my different soldiers can come out, and like different wizards show their different powers, like the part where they turn a soldier into a chicken, stuff like that. A really cool little ending as the credits are going across, and just a really cool way to finish the game. But the game is far from over. Now, I know the challenge here is just simply to get the credits to roll. That's considered finishing the game. But there is so much post-game content that you can go through here. First off, you can go through the entire game again simply as Chief Zog soldiers here and play as the goblins. And it's going to be very similar as far as like the missions are laid out. But you're going to have sort of the reverse aspect. You're going to start off in the lava field and work your way to the human realm and try to take out Queen Azrael. And some of the missions are going to overlap a little bit. Some are a little bit different. But you have an entire second quest you can go through, which is really awesome for post-game content. That alone is like 7 hours or 8 hours of content. And then you can also go through and like try to unlock all the different sages, basically scour every level, get every block overturned, and you can find every sage that you can inside of a game. And I think you actually have to trade to find some of the sages or some of the wizards, but it's really cool to actually go through and try to find all of those. You can also find more maps to unlock more multiplayer areas, and that's also to mention the entire multiplayer campaigns that you can go through with your friends battling against each other. I really wish multiple of my friends had this game, because I would really enjoy going through the multiplayer aspect on the Game Boy. And on top of all of this, there are also mini games that you can discover to play in the options here. The only one that I discovered was a poker game, and you have that same little goblin from the sound test laying out like a little poker, and you can actually earn money that way. And just a really cool like post-game content. Tons of stuff to discover, tons of maps to unlock, tons of wizards to find, an entire second quest, like an amazing game when it comes to post-game content, and just an amazing game overall. The only complaint I think I have on the entire game is sometimes the AI didn't do what I wanted to do. The music was great, the graphics were great, the cutscenes were great, but most of all, the gameplay itself was fantastic in every way. And there was never a moment where I was confused, like how to build a building, to train a troop. Everything was very smooth, and I can't imagine that ever happening on a console for a real-time strategy game. But this company did it, and they brought one of the best real-time strategy games out there onto a handheld. Now, yeah, I know it's not as good or elaborate as like Command & Conquer or Warcraft or anything like that, but it's a simple, fun, pick-up-and-play strategy game, and in its own right is one of the all-time greats because of that. I'd give the game a 9.5 out of 10. The 0.5 is just simply coming off because the AI didn't do it exactly like I wanted to sometimes. I'm sad I missed this game in my youth because it would have been one of my all-time favorite Game Boy Color games, and it's still going to be placed inside of that rank. But if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, check out my other videos listed up above, and go out there, find a great game to play. Simply have a great rest of the day.